And now I'd like to welcome the head of Google Outreach, Google Earth Outreach, Rebecca Moore.
Thanks very much, Brady. I'm not sure how much any of you have ever worked with Indigenous people on mapping, but we've had the great opportunity, my team and I, over the last year to start working with Indians in the Amazon, and now it's led to the Maori of New Zealand, the First Nations of Canada, Native Americans in the US, and it turns out there's, I would say, millions of people out there who have incredible stories to tell, who are now beginning to be sophisticated somewhat with GIS mapping, but they have not yet come full force onto the internet. And they have been approaching us at Google to learn how to do that. They want to tell their stories and meet with everyone else on the web. So I'm just going to briefly tell the story of a project we did in the Amazon last year, and it's still ongoing. This is the logo the Surui Indian people in the Amazon made for us, new technologies for Indigenous people. If you look at the Surui territory in Google Earth, which is what Chief Almir did, he's the first member of this tribe to graduate from university. He was in an internet cafe, and he stumbled on Google Earth, and like probably everyone in this room, the first thing he did is he flew to his home. And when he did that, he saw what you see on the left there. It is basically an island of green, verdant rainforest surrounded by a sea of devastation and deforestation. Literally on the right, you can see how they're all that's standing between forest and deforestation. In fact, the president of FUNAI is essentially the Bureau of Indian Affairs for Brazil. When President Lula of Brazil made a big announcement about a government imperative to protect the Amazon rainforest, 60% of the Amazon is in Brazil, the president of FUNAI said, if you want to protect the Amazon, we need to help the Indian people who live there, because if you look at these various examples of territories, you can see the Surui are not unique. The president of FUNAI said, where there are Indians, there's rainforest. Where there's no Indians, there's no rainforest. There's a lot of text here, but the gist of it was we didn't go to them, they came to us. Chief Almir, when he saw that image in Google Earth, he said, first of all, I want to show the world what's at stake, the illegal logging that's happening. I also want to show the people that, show the world that people live here. If you go to New York or San Francisco or San Jose or Rio de Janeiro, you see hotels and roads and YouTube videos and all sorts of content. But if you go to much of the Amazon in Google Earth, it's blank. And he wants to change that, and we see this project as a model that will help us generate a huge amount of user-generated content from the Indigenous people of the Amazon. He also asked us for higher resolution imagery, like many, many other people do. So why did we agree to do it? Well, it was pretty much unique. If an Amazon chief asks you to help him, it's something that's hard to turn down. But seriously, they were using tools made out of stone and bows and arrows until 1969, which was their first contact. And he's very forward-looking and sees the power of digital media, the web, digital technology, to help his people take responsibility for their own destiny, as he calls it, and to integrate with marketplaces and so on. But the question was, can we teach them how to use it? So just thought I'd throw this in for fun. They built a special traditional maloka for us. That's where we slept when we went down there. One thing is important to note when you do mapping projects with Indigenous people, they have been historically tremendously taken advantage of. And their cultural maps, ethno-maps, are quite precious and often contain information that must be handled very carefully. So we work, by the way, with the Amazon Conservation Team. That's the NGO who is working day in and day out teaching them how to use GPS. And the first thing you do is you sign an agreement with their chief that says you will protect basically their privacy. They will decide what they want to make public, and only they. So here's an idea of the Surui Cultural Map that they did using traditional GIS. They have 2,000 sites, several hundred different types of sites. If we zoom in, you can see these are some of the icons that their indigenous artists in the tribe created. And you notice you don't see McDonald's or fast food places. What you see are things like they're a warrior tribe, so they love to map the sites of famous historical battles. There's one that will be interesting when it comes out in Google Earth because it shows where the Surui warriors met an invading tribe, killed those two warriors, and ate them. So that will be interesting when it gets published. This is where they get honey from the bees. This is where the jaguars live. You get the idea that, and there's this saying that, or I don't know if it's a saying, but certainly maps are an expression of culture, and this is evidence of that. There's another saying that, Eskimos have many, many words for snow. Well, the Shingawara tribe have many different symbols for fishing spot. Their entire source of protein is fish. And so they have one that is where you fish with a line. There's another where you fish with a net. There's one where you use bow and arrow or a trap with poison from poisonous vines to stun the fish. So they have all these different symbols to indicate different spots in the river where you do different types of fishing. Oh, this is just a shot of training when we were all required to get the markings on our arms, which last a month or longer if you're a jealous person. We also train them on SketchUp, and I'll give you this was their first SketchUp model of a government building that had been built on their territory. So there's this notion of zeitgeist and what do people search for? So when we taught them how to do web search, I was curious what they would search for, and right away it was indigenous people of Brazil, Desmatamento Amazonia, which means deforestation of the Amazon. They wanted to connect to other tribes, they wanted to learn about deforestation, but then of course they wanted to learn about football and Ronaldinho, who is a tremendous soccer star in Brazil. So now we're going to move into a short video that please pay attention to. It's got historical footage from 1969, the time of first contact, and goes all the way through to the beginnings of their cultural map in Google Earth. I'm just showing you this as a start, rather, of their cultural map. The first thing they do is they import those sites into Google Earth. And this is just 200 of those sites. They have 2,000. So if we could now start the video, please.
Nós índios já temos um jeito de viver na floresta. Nós não precisamos de matar para viver. Em 1969 foi contado. Aí nós encontramos o taperi da final. Pensaram que esse pessoal branco está dando muito presente. Juntava toda a liderança, meu pai. Vamos chegar então. Foi assim contado. Assim que contado, pegou doença. Era meu povo 5.000 pessoas. Ficou 290 e poucas pessoas.
Naquela época, quando o pessoal começou a explorar madeira na nossa área, nós tínhamos 24 anos de contato. Quem defende a floresta passa pela essa vida. Começaram a me ameaçar madeireiro, as pessoas. Meu povo não estava preparado ainda para se defender, ou não sei que seja usar arco e flecha, né? Dentro de mim, né, estava alertando necessidade de usar tecnologia, internet, para mostrar a situação da minha terra indígena.
They'd been taught to use GPS by the Amazon Conservation Team. They mapped their sacred sites, cultural sites. What they wanted to do is take that information about their history and their culture and put that in Google Earth.
E eu tenho certeza que enquanto a gente fazer essa parceria com a internet, nós vamos estar entrando não sei quantos milhões de pessoas que acessam o Google.
His idea was if we could teach the young people how to use YouTube, how to use digital photographs, how to interview the elders, record this content, attach it to Google Earth, it would be a way of strengthening their culture, preserving their history, and sharing their culture with the world. It allows you to put the Surui people on the map and to show what's at stake with deforestation encroaching upon their lands. Chief Almir has organized a project to reforest 7,000 hectares of their land that had been illegally logged. And they want to gain access to the carbon offset marketplace because they will be helping to avert climate change.
Durante 10 anos, a gente quer plantar mínima 1 milhão de mudas. Sabemos que sozinho a ninguém não constrói nada, né? Então nós não podemos discutir o futuro do mundo sozinho. E assim a gente quer manter a nossa contribuição ao bem-estar do nosso planeta, a partir da nossa sabedoria que usamos da floresta para oferecer isso.
One last question for you all. Who here is a developer, a geo developer? Good. So just wanted to announce that on our Google Earth Outreach site, we have just launched a much richer new version of the site. And on that, we have launched a developer marketplace. So if you're interested in working with and helping Indigenous people or nonprofit groups around the world who want to use our mapping tools to make the world a better place, please check out our developer marketplace, register yourself, and I think you'll find it very rewarding. Thanks very much.